Hello there. Welcome back to Empathetic Educators. I'm your host, Naomi Toland, and we are on for our Keep Your Key segment today, back with our nerdy neuroscience. And we actually have Green Screen Gal, aka Erica Sandstrom, on live with us today. So I'm very excited not to be alone for this session, like I was in the first one. So it'd be nice to bring her on. So let's get ourselves started. Hello, hello. So it is my morning in Tokyo, and it is Erica's evening. So we're all over the world today. So it'd be nice to have some people, and we already have some people in the chat and the comments. So let's get this show on the road. Welcome, Erica. Hello, hello. Welcome on board.
Hi, good to see you. You're one of my favorite EDU superheroes, girl. How cool, across the world. Yeah, 8 o'clock at night.
We even have Shannon Moore on board as well. Coming on from America too, so it's all over the world. Shannon. So yeah, introduce yourself, people who don't know you. I'm sure there's lots of people on board today who do know all the superhero things that you do. So give yourself a little bit of a background and let us know how you are today.
Oh, I don't know about that. My name is Erica Sandstrom, and I am known as Green Screen Gal, and I'm a digital learning coach and digital media teacher here north of Boston, Mass, and I'm a founder of Club Mindful's Mindful Superhero Club. So if you go on Twitter, you'll see all my shenanigans for green screen, but I'm known for my mindfulness shenanigans as well. I call them that because on Wakelet, you'll see a lot of webinars and things like that. I'm known for incorporating social emotional learning with green screen and video. So
yeah. I think, like you said, shenanigans is your middle name, but I love the shenanigans that you bring to the table. Literally love it. It's like, what's she going to do next? What's going to happen?
I don't know where it comes from. I think, you find something that, in your life that makes you go like this, and you should pay attention. Yeah. And who knew that mine would be my two passions, mindfulness and social emotional learning and this green screen. But whenever I get to actually do this and not all the other work we have to do to pay the bills, nothing makes me happier. I'm literally at 3 a.m. have to hide my iPad away from me because I get ideas and I'm like,
we've really bonded off that. We've been like, we had to set boundaries for ourselves. We're all about well-being, and then we're like talking about how like we are up at like 3 o'clock being like, oh my gosh, switch off. So we've really bonded over those conversations as well. So yeah, I think it's really good to have you.
Intro. I can't get enough of your intro to your show, by the way.
I am very proud of it, Erica. I am. I love it. I see everyone coming together. So yeah, thank you. So today we're going to be coming on, and we had a video last week and I was so proud. One of my learners from New Zealand, shout out to Zave and Sally and Lexi, if they're watching today, but they were watching in the last show and they really had a great takeaway from your breathing video. And I think that's what we've been really bonding over, is like us, the well-being side of it, but also what the digital side can bring to the physical side, and trying to weave those both together. And so it'll be really cool today. We're going to go through our breathing exercises. We're going to talk about the mental side of things and how it really does impact our brain, and how it all ties together as well. So we're going to put a little video on. So last week we had Nathan Wallace. I interviewed him maybe last year. He's a neuroscientist, bringing neuroscience into education. And yeah, so we're going to watch a little video for him first, and then we'll have a little chat about what he says as well. So let's put that on.
Understanding that you're intelligent, and brain, the cortex, this wonderful brain, and then your survival brain at the other end, so your frontal lobes down the bottom, intelligent brain on the top, they work like they're on a set of scales, which means only one's engaged at a time. So if someone's shooting at you, your survival brain's going to be so aroused, you're not going to be able to do a calculus equation while you're running from a shooter, because actually, while you're running from a shooter, you won't know what your middle name is, because you're all that stuff's down here in the cortex, and you're in your survival brain. You've got to be safe and feel calm to calm your brainstem to get into your frontal cortex. So anxiety, in that simple way, is really the brain's inability to calm the survival brain. But like you say, we are supposed to have it. That's what makes you cautious about walking down the dark alley, or what makes you cautious about buying those shoes instead of paying the electricity bill. Like you're supposed to have some anxiety. but often trauma causes an anxiety response, or sometimes it's just adolescence actually, because the changes in the brain, but or trauma can cause it to be triggered. Some people it's just triggered through a physical injury. For whatever reason, your highway of stress in your body is triggered and it's anxiety. So what was the part you wanted to
I think I was just explain that a little bit, because I think that's a really good takeaway for people to have.
So that's why yoga, meditation, mindfulness, why mindfulness is such a big topic in schools. It's not just hippie shit. It is actually, it's real brain stuff. You calm the brainstem and you'll get more intelligence. The kid who's got anxiousness and anxiety is not able to fully engage in the curriculum, because only your intelligent brain can really engage in the curriculum. If brains 1, 2 or 3 could, the bottom brains could engage in the curriculum, then so could the dog. They can't, the dog can't. Only this really intelligent brain can. So it's really important that you calm those survival networks and engage that brain. So mindfulness, yoga, physical exercise, self-belief, good self-talk.
I love it. It's one of my biggest takeaways from him. And because I went to see him maybe like 2 years ago, and whenever I was trying to look into neuroscience and things like that, and being aware that I didn't even realize that once you can't be in 2 brains at once, if that makes sense. Like you have to really focus. And that's what my mindfulness and meditation and affirmations and well-being, like that's what it brings into focus, that area that you're trying to bring more into life. So yeah, what are your takeaways from him?
Oh, so many. I just love that. I just love the way he put it, even with the hippie stuff. That was funny. But he's basically talking about all the different parts of the brain and the whole flipping your lid thing. And when we get triggered, I love that word triggered, this one that makes the good decisions, like I won't send that text because I love this person, right? So good decision making and all that. And then your emotional brain, which is going to save you, fight or flight. If a bear's coming, you better run. But when you get triggered and this guy's in charge, or girls like, ka. So until those are back together. And what's interesting is I actually wrote this down because I am obsessed right now with on Netflix, Headspace has intro to meditation, and it's kind of like a slow binge watch. So you watch, one a day. And anyway, the second one said Sarah Lazar, who's from Harvard University, did a study about this and how breathing and mindfulness and yoga and all these things to calm yourself down changes your brain physically, psychologically. And it was an 8-week study. And in this thing, it showed that the parts of your brain for learning and memory from regular meditation, regular practice of breathing grew larger. And the parts of your brain who are in charge of anxiety and stress, those parts of your brains get smaller. So my takeaway from what he said is lots of things. I don't want to take up your time to answer. I feel like, one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is, yes, the breath and all these things can help you put your brain back together, but we should be doing that all the time, not just when we're flipping out. I actually had some girls in my classroom yesterday have a whole teenage meltdown, and one of them was having an anger bout, and her friends kept saying to her, you have anger issues, which was triggering her. She flipped her lid, and just to get these kids to calm down at the time, I was trying to get them to breathe, and one was so upset. She's like, I can't. I'm like, I get it. So I switched to something different. I know you probably know, it was one of the things I wanted to show you, the emotional scale from Abraham Hicks. You can't go from freaking out and all these lower emotions up to joy. You have to jump up the scale slowly. So I tried to get them to laugh or to think of something else. So I said, okay, if you can't breathe, let's find a mirror and look at our ugly cry. Works every time. And they started laughing, and it switched their brains, and then they started breathing. So, I have a lot of takes on that, but you tell me what you think.
No, like that's exactly why you're here today is like, I was chatting myself last week, and I was very lonely last week having to talk myself to my takeaways.
That was awesome.
but I think that's why you're here as well, is to share your takeaways. And even that, like, I think it's so true is you can't just switch. I think like that's what Stephanie just said. I love the tip about doing it all the time, not just whenever you're flipping out. And as well, it's like, you can't just ourselves. We can't just say, come on, get on with it. Like switch yourself back into normal. But it's about being aware. It's about being aware where you're at and like trying to look just different strategies. Even as a teacher, we can't say that practicing breathing is going to help every single child in that class. But then what you just said is like switching into a different technique that you can be aware of. And I think that's you helping them be aware of it. But then how can we help them practice it themselves as well? So that's the more I'm teaching my learners about things that they can do, it's actually helping me whenever I'm flipping my lid to be like, what did I tell that like my 5-year-old, my 6-year-olds to do? Well, I'm going to try and practice it myself. So it's being aware of those strategies.
Yes.
And also being aware of what's happening. So I think that's why I like about what he said as well is if I can't actually be in 2 brains at once, then I need to be aware of what brain I'm actually in to be able to do what I need to do at that time. So if I'm like kind of like, oh, I'm really, really just emotional towards this, just being aware of it. It's not judging yourself to be like, why am I in this brain? Why am I so angry? Why am I so upset? It's just being aware of that's where you're at that time. And that's what I really liked about what he said about the 3 brains. And I put a little visual in because like at the minute I'm reading that like the Cognitive Neuroscience book. And I think I love about these 2 books at the minute is it does show you what's going on in like the reptilian brain, so the survival brain. And he said about how we work up through the brains. So if we go straight into survival mode, we're at the bottom of our brain, we're at the base of the stem, the brain stem. And then you work all the way up through the emotional brain and then into the prefrontal cortex as well. And I think that's such a great takeaway from these books that I'm reading, but also from what he just said and what we're trying to work on too. So yeah, I think it's great. I think that I know we're a bit fuzzy. I know it's such a shame, but
sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to I'll take it off because it's disturbing to see him do this. But this is what I was referring to with Abraham Hicks and the emotional scale, and it's just really powerful when you like you said, recognizing what your triggers are is half the battle. You'd be amazed at like if you know something triggers you and you understand triggers and you know where you feel the angst. I feel it in my middle upper back. I know if that's happening, I am starting to stress and I need to stop. So being aware of your triggers physically too, not just what annoys you, is half the battle. But yeah, breathing, but also a lot of kids have to take a walk because they need that time. I mean, usually a walk can fix a lot of things.
Like you said, if you're talking to a kid and you're like, breathe, and you're like, you're getting me angry. Like it's
when
like
someone tells you to calm down, it's like, are you kidding me right now? Because I'm working on it myself because I also know that you learn. Don't get me wrong, my mother's amazing, but I've learned the 0 to 60 because she doesn't do it anymore, but she used to when I was younger, and I was like, and it was a normal thing. And also different cultures. You have to be, things are acceptable in different cultures and everybody's different. But I'm telling you, I have strategies. Even like I tell the kids, I said, instead of sending that text, open up the notes on your phone and unload there. Yeah. Go back and visit it later. And usually when you do, you start laughing and oh wow, I'm really glad I didn't send that. And
And I think that what we're talking about, like who's in control of like that part, who's in the driving seat. And that's exactly why we have that segment of Keep Your Key. And that's what we're working on at the minute is who's in your driving seat. Is it your emotional brain? Are you making emotional choices? Or is it your more logical brain of what's actually going on? And just being aware, like we're not going to exactly flipping that lid. Like we're not always going to make those
back. I'm making bad decisions.
Exactly. And we never not make the bad decisions. Like I think I'd be the first one to say I do make bad decisions on a weekly basis, but it's more just saying, okay, what was happening there? What was going on? How can I make that choice better? And the more I'm aware of it, the less bad decisions I am making. Still making them, but like
that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And, honestly, forgiveness is huge too. Gabby Bernstein wrote, gosh, what's the name of the book? I can't think of it. But anyway, she has this thing where it's choose again. So, you're triggered by something, recognize it, forgive yourself, and then choose another thought, choose again. I mean, there's actually a little more to it than that. And I love like Mel Robbins has that 5 second. I mean, that thing is powerful. And I use that one just to get up in the morning, just to get to the next thing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, jump up. So look up the 5 second rule if you don't know what that is. And then
I'll put these little links into the show because obviously we are live. So afterwards I'll put in the what was it? Who was it again? Who was it by? I know I've seen it before.
Mel Robbins and then Gabby Bernstein, the Choose Again method. But I have a whole list of them, and I'll just send you something afterwards. I have them all
And I'll
linked
put them in
already.
the
I'm actually
bio.
looking at my notes because it's evening here. I'm afraid my brain won't work. But even with the glitter jar, like I have a glitter jar even for my middle schoolers, and the rule is Miss Sandstrom's the only one that's allowed to touch it, because if you hand a screaming kid a glitter jar, it's going to end up smashed against your wall. And but like I said, this needs to be a regular practice. And just like that Sarah Lazar did, it's like going to the gym. We have to train our brains and change the physical chemistry of our brains to be in that space. Because if we just, I'm just going to breathe now because I'm having a tough day, which does help. It's not going to maintain it for you. And I've noticed over the break, I wouldn't call it a break, I'm sorry, over COVID, that I'm practicing what I'm preaching now. I actually meditated right before this, and I never was doing that before. I would just go.
Yeah. But it's so true. Like the fact you said about it actually changes the brain. So I had my friend on, I'm doing like a segment on Tuesdays, and it's actually asking people about what their jobs mean and what do 21st century skills mean in the work today. And he was a doctor, and he was actually saying that he's looking at like functional MRIs, like exactly what you said about how it just changes the brain. Like it actually changes the function of our brains. And I think like if we can bring that more into education, more into for adults, and like not even education as in school education, just education of ourselves. And I think that's so important for us to know that we can change our past and we can change what we're like. Because the reason I'm so passionate about this is because in my first year, I started getting migraines for the first time ever. Like I'd never had migraines ever. And in my first year teaching, I started getting them like probably every week, if not like more than once a week. And I went to the doctors and they said you're not breathing properly. But that was like it wasn't told like what was happening to me. They weren't telling me what was actually going on. They just said you're not breathing properly, almost like accusing me of it. And I was like, yes, but I'm here to try and get better. What does that mean? And so that's why I was on this journey of what does it mean to breathe, because we do it every day, but the short breaths are what cause like the lack of what's going on around our body. And like you said, like I get mine here, like my pressure.
Right there. Yeah.
Mine's like here. So even whenever I'm like, because sometimes like you say, I get excited and I get it here. And also whenever I'm stressed, I get it here. So mine's like the excitement and stress. It's like lack of breathing as well. So whenever I'm excited, I'm like short breaths. But then like that's whenever I get it here too. So it's like you said, just being aware of your triggers, being aware of what's happening with yourself, and just being more conscious of what choices you're making to move forward to. So yeah.
I tell you, everybody just turn on Netflix and watch that Headspace thing. And literally will teach you, and you'll figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, with middle school, for me, it was like try not to take things personally because I get so sensitive. And I'm like, wait a minute, these are kids. They're a puzzle piece that we're supposed to figure out. If they're acting up, there's a reason. And it's kind of like, ooh, MacGyver. How are we going to figure this out?
It is. And I think it's completely like, I think Shannon just said, like, I love jump up a scale slowly. I haven't framed it that way before. And I think I actually haven't too. And I'm gonna, that's a really nice thing to bring in. I'll put the link as well to the scale after the chat too, into the bio. But it's actually just like being aware, like behavior is communication. Like I love that phrase. It's like behavior is communication for ourselves. Like if we're behaving some way, and sometimes like we're not aware of why we're behaving it, but something's going on deeper for us and also for the learners. Why is the behavior? Why are they communicating that way? What's going on for them? And I think like you said, it's like behaviors, communications are a really big takeaway.
Well, and it's that thing I say that you got to make sure when you say this not to annoy people. People get annoyed by, like we said, we've talked about catchphrase words, but the mindful mirror, it's like, I always tell the kids and myself, when you're annoyed by somebody else or something, look in the mirror and figure out why, because it's a reflection of you. And that's a deep thing to say, but like I get annoyed when people are late. I'm always late. And if anybody from my school watches this, they're laughing really hard right now. That's why I stay late and do a lot of extra work for the district, because, but like, it's true. And it's usually something in yourself, and so when you said that, it's like, but breathing is science. It's so powerful. 1 minute breathing bubble is a regular thing. On my computers, I use Google Chrome extension called Mindful Break. It's really
Okay.
great. A little, you can put it, the kids all have it in the corner of their computer, and it's just being, if you're stressed, go do a breathing bubble. Just try that first. And that always seems to help me. I don't know. How about you?
No, so true. I think, and it kind of ties into, we're going to do this a bit later in the segment, but I think it ties in now exactly what we're talking about. Whenever I've been trying to weave in the empathetic educators chat into these segments as well, because it's so powerful to get the voice from all the people who are actually coming into those chats. And Keisha put in, which I totally agree with. I'm the first to say, if I hear the word self-care again, I'm going to scream. And it is like, it's like, I feel like now everyone's talking about self-care, everyone's talking about well-being, and like you're almost getting anxious about not looking after your own self-care. So it's like a cycle. It's just like, what is this? So it's like, how can we, rather than being like self-care, it's not about that. And like then she wrote down after this, she wrote down, it's not the concept that she's questioning, it's just the how much of we're talking about self-care, that she was like, what, like me hearing all this self-care, it's actually like putting stress on the what that person's doing that, and that person's doing this, and that person's doing that. So then you're comparing yourself about how you're not looking after yourself. So it's just a spiral. And it's what's your kind of thoughts on like buzzword, like we're saying, it's like we don't want it to become a buzzword. It's yeah.
So I was looking for this because this is how I open up my self-care PD for teachers, because humor is a huge part of it, but it's so true with buzzwords. Even mindfulness is a buzzword. But honestly, first of all, I always ask people like, why does it bother you so much that these words? But it's it's kind of like telling someone to calm down, But self-care, the thing is, self-care isn't a spa day. It's doing your laundry. I just got a load of laundry done. That's self-care. Mm-hmm. Self-care is doing a breathing bubble when you're stressed instead of, sending the text. I mean, self-care, I don't know what else to call it, but you're right.
I think that's what it is. It's not the term. It's just like the like constantly putting it out. And I think that's why I was thinking about, especially even for empathetic educators or like things like that, I want to advocate for these things. But it's also about not telling people what to do. Do you know, like that I would hate for someone to be like, oh, that's her.
Why did that bother you?
No, but
it's like, why? No, I'm just kidding. The thing I do like about what's going on though is my district right now, we're doing our PD for March, and I was asked to put together self-care activities so we can actually do yoga in the middle of the school day during PD. And I think that even though people are sick of hearing it, at least they're recognizing that teachers need breaks because our energy affects our students. If we're stressed, that's science, and I'm excited because like we, at our school, we had Jake Kessler. He's this great teacher at our school. He got approved from our boss to do Tai Chi in the middle of the day. He's setting up walks to go outside. So as much as we are sick of the term, guys, it is happening, and our admin they're on board with taking care of their teachers. I mean,
that's actually a really good point. Is like the more we talk about it,
just
like,
let it go
to make it happen. Yeah, to make it happen. Like that's a really good point. But also
bring in those treats and the.
But I think that's what it is. Like, because I think I've heard as well is if the system wasn't a certain way, then we wouldn't have to be so much about self-care. And I think like I like what you just said there now is like making a system that actually creates people not have to be so worried about things all the time. It's actually they're putting it in place for then
time in the day. They're not
exactly.
Hopefully, when we come out of all of this, that there will be permanent change, and it won't go back to the way it was. But I think
so true. It's
they want to give you some self-care. Just take it.
Yeah, that's very true. It's not about like it becoming a buzzword.
We're the worst too. Teachers are the worst. We want to take care of everybody else, but we don't need to. We don't need to have rescue missions all the time, because it is not. And you're probably sick of hearing this too. It is not selfish. It's selfish not to practice self-care because your stress is going to affect these kids, and it's going to affect. The word disease, dis-ease. Put it together, disease. And so it's selfish not to practice it. So on that note, I'm going to make sure I, take a bath or something later.
No, but it is. I think I really like that. I think that's what I've been thinking about is like the system of things is what needs to change so that we don't have to always put it on the back burner. Like it's like we are the ones that put forward and try and care for all other people. So then we have to self-care is going home and just switching everything off. But if we can weave that through the day so that we can put that there a priority, that's exactly, I like that. So the more that we're pushing it now, hopefully it is going to come into the system that we're actually around to. So yeah, I think that's because yeah.
You can't just say, okay, I'm going to practice it when I get home and then go crazy all day like I do. It's body, mind, spirit all day long. And it's, if it's a breathing bubble, is that all you have time for? Do it. It's that's, and with our kids, we want to teach them to take care of themselves. So if they're getting stressed out while they're doing their work, you want to teach them those skills instead of pressuring them, and being balanced. And that's, the more balanced we are, obviously, we'd have a lot more peaceful society if everybody just kind of balanced themselves out. So it isn't just like you said, after school, but people need to understand what self-care is. It's not, now I feel bad about using the word.
No, but I think that's exactly what I was thinking is what are we advocating? What are we doing in that space? And I think it's very true. It's like, that's why I really wanted to bring that into the conversation, because I think the buzzwords are actually important, but it's what we do with the words. So if people are just saying like, oh, it's self-care, then with no meaning or no traction behind it, that's never becomes just a buzzword. But the reason why we're bringing it up so much now is because it's so important. It's shown us the past year how it is so important to have self-care and to put those things at the forefront. And so it becomes part of our routine, not just, oh, I'm having a self-care spa day. It's actually like you say, it's about that whole day-to-day life. What are you doing to look after yourself the whole way through the day, not just as a buzzword on the weekend? And I think that's the kind of where I'm at the minute too. Is
well, I think why teachers, or not teachers, I think why people are annoyed by it. I know something that is annoying me, because I actually do this, is there's a lot of talk about it. We're talking about it. Here's 25 slides on what self-care is. We need to be doing it. And that's funny, because it's probably a good segue to what we're going to do.
I was just about to say, what a beautiful segue.
No, seriously, more doing it. I don't want to talk about it. They know what to do. Let's just do it. So that's what I'm planning for our district. Let's do it.
Beautiful segue into our little segment. Let's do a bit of breathing.
I love it. You're adorable.
So let's without further ado, let's what are we going to introduce? What we're going to do today? Let's get ourselves into the zone. And anyone who's listening, you can join in with the breathing as well. Like I said, it was cute to have Zave on last week doing the breathing, so we're doing it live today. Let's give it a go.
Okay, well, there's lots of breathing techniques out there. You've probably seen them all. There's a great little book called Breathe Like a Bear. The book has all kinds of breathing exercises, but one that everybody has, hopefully, has right here is your hand. And if you don't want to hold your hand up, you can imagine it. And it's inhale and up the mountain and into the valley. So let's go ahead and give it a try. You can sit up straight, or you can just relax. I would do some chair yoga if we had time. Okay. Ready? Here we go. We're going to inhale. Hold it. Exhale. Into the valley. Now breathe all the way up to the crown of your head. Inhale. And hold it. And exhale. Into the valley. And inhale up. And hold it. And exhale. Go up one more time. Inhale. And exhale. To the valley. Not one more time. Sorry. Inhale up. And exhale down. And let's reverse it. We're doing well here. Let's go ahead and inhale up. And exhale. Good job. Through your nose or your mouth. Doesn't matter. Inhale up. And exhale. Inhale up. Top of the mountain. And exhale. 2 more hills. Inhale up. And exhale. I'm going to pass out. And inhale up one more time. And exhale. Now, I found that if I go back through, it's more powerful. Wow, I feel a little dizzy. It's amazing. And then I always tell the kids, grab a water.
Literally.
Should have started with that because we were both like this. Da, 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 da. Now we're like, oh.
But even that itself, though, like even like just showing our different ways, do you know, like how much we were energized before? And like I said, I was feeling it here from energy and excitement, not from like the stress part of it. And literally, even after now, I feel so much more in.
So much better.
It
And you
is.
forget. That's why
Yeah.
my students and I are making, I think you showed it last week, we're making these personalized breathing bubbles. And I actually have the tutorial coming out. So for everybody, I want everybody to do it. It's called #MyBreathingBubble. I want you guys to show us. And
I'll be putting that on. The link is the link is actually in there now at the minute. So you can see like all the things that you were doing. And I think Stephanie just said like I enjoyed that into the valley, top of the mountain. I haven't heard that one before, so thank you for sharing that. So yeah, I think a lot of these things that you do share, it is practical little takeaways. I feel like I'm so like.
Don't you feel great? I feel great right now.
I love it.
I was a little, I obviously very hyper and miss ADHD, and especially when I talk about things I'm passionate about. But I think it's important, Gabby Bernstein says that right before she goes on stage, she does that, but she also does one called dragon breathing. I think it's called dragon breathing, but it's like a quick, and it's kind of hard to teach really quickly, but it's really powerful because she goes on stage and she's like her brain, and it puts your brain back together.
Yeah.
So everybody
it makes it more connected. And I think even now me being here, it allows you just space and time. I think that's just that little space throughout the day. Because I've put it in. I'm going to be using your videos actually with my kids. I've put it in as like a in the mornings now because I was doing it after lunch and exactly like this. If we had started our conversation with that, it might have put us in a different space of. But it's again not judging. It's more seeing about what works, what doesn't work. And I think with my kids, I want to go back and do it in the mornings now and actually get ourselves and talk about how we're coming in, what we can do to actually get ourselves in the zone for learning. I think for learning, especially like we talked about, like Nathan talked about, if they're in a space where they're coming in and then something's happened in the morning and we're expecting them right now to do your times tables, that's not honoring where they're coming from and what they're coming into the class with. And I think that breathing, exactly like we just did there now, it brings us in. I feel like I'm like, I want to do some yoga now, I want to do some stretches, and it makes you more aware of where you're at in your own body. And
I start class that way remotely. Yeah. I'm a yoga instructor, but anybody can do this with a little chair yoga because I tell them your synovial fluid needs some juice, and I need it too. And then and they love it because I teach them new ones, and then we do a fun breathing thing, and then sometimes I'll have them put on the clouds for the virtual background, and we'll all go do this. We'll all be we just do things like that, just even the middle schoolers to get their bodies moving, and then I tell them to bring a water to class, and it just takes 2 minutes of all this. And you become
so much more involved. So yeah, I think thank you for sharing that technique. Like Stephanie said, I'm sure people I didn't know about it until I seen your video. So it's like you said, it's such a you take for granted kind of what you know as well. Like so it's such a, like you say, a lot of people do have like a little thing with them, and like you don't have to use your hand, you can visualize it. But I like the way that it does kind of it allows you to kind of feel it and be present with what's actually going on with yourself too. So thank you for sharing that little
thank you for letting me share. Like I said, I would do a whole segment with us just doing this.
I'm taking you up on that offer, Erica. You're going to be
let's do chair yoga. Yeah,
we'll make it part of a little segment. Yeah, so I'm thinking that's exactly what I want this little segment to be, is not talking about it. It's important to talk about it because it's important to like
talk about it too.
Understand the things, not just talking. It's out talking and doing. So that's what hopefully this little segment's going to be about. Is every second Thursday it's going to be about being present, being part of like just practicing little takeaways we can bring into the classroom, but also in home as well. So thank you for coming on and doing that with us. And then we've actually already gone on to the Twitter quotes. I've already shared that, but there was another one that I really liked from the Twitter chat as well, which was about, so Toria shared this a couple of months ago, and she said, so it's important to recognize that communication is different with everyone. And And then Kate said, listening carefully with empathy gives us time to process our own feelings and measure our response. And I think that comes exactly back to what we're talking about today, is being aware of your own responses and giving yourself time to recognize where you're at and recognize where other people are as well. So I think that really ties in nicely to what we've just been talking about too. It's not about just the actions that we put forward, it's about what we say as well. Like you say, should you write that message? Communication is different for everyone. Pause. Take a pause. Yeah. And like we say, we're not saying that we never do it, but it's just being aware and having those conversations about what we act like, what we do as well. So thank you for bringing the chat as well. I just love, we're coming on in 2 weeks' time as well to talk about relationships. It's on the 21st of February. It just happened this week, the chat that we just had, so people can join in with that as well. Empathetic_educators on Twitter, and yeah, just great takeaways. I think like you're sharing your takeaways. It's just there's so many things out there that we can use practically in our classroom and take away straight away that we can do. So I really love that chat where people come together and share those takeaways as well. So thank you for.
And I'll put together everything I mentioned for you, and I'll link it up for you too.
Can you hear my voice? My voice is completely different from whenever we were like literally.
Isn't that awesome? Like you think the music teachers always talk about, like teachers talk from our stress voice. If you feel yourself talking from here, try talking from here.
It is. Just being aware of our bodies.
Talking from here, you shouldn't have to raise your voice. And if you feel yourself going into your stress voice, because that's what we naturally do. And that's what I've been working on, is as soon as I feel that, I'm like, I need to breathe and get in my deeper voice.
Recognizing it. That's all you can do. It's not judging your body. It's not like being like, why am I here?
Forgiveness.
It's just being like, this is where I'm at, recognizing it. And the more you do it, the more you be like, oh, back again.
I just say cancel, clear, and start over.
So thank you, Erica. Thank you so much for coming on and doing your doing little takeaway. But like I said, you will be part of this either with your videos that you're doing with your kids, we'll be putting it on for the segment, or hopefully coming on more live with doing little takeaways as well and doing it practically with us too. So thank you very much for coming on.
Well, you know, I love you. You're like a sister. Like, you know, we look alike. It's awesome.
I know. Our hairs are kind of similar today.
No, seriously, you know, you're just one of those people. You're just a wonderful superstar. So keep shining your light, girl. Keep shining it.
You're the same. Thank you so much. I think that's why we bond so much, is we're passionate about what we're doing. So thank you so much about for coming on the show. So before we go, I just want to let people know that there is going to be the things that Erica's sharing and all things like that. It's all going to be going on to the app. So you can get the app, bit.ly/educators app, or you can subscribe for more things that are coming up in the upcoming weeks. And we also have our live chat coming on with Richard Gerver. We have 3 winners already coming on: Jessica, Teacher to Learner, and Jay. I'm going to be announcing the next 3 winners next week as well. So before we have our live chat with him, so you can come on and ask questions to both Richard, and we have our co-host, Lauren, coming on as well. So exciting things coming up in the next couple of weeks too. So thank you, Erica. I am going to have a lovely, it's the start of my day actually, so I'm going to have a lovely zen, keep practicing my breathing as we go along. So yeah, thank you for everyone. Thank you for everyone in the comments as well. We had Steph at the very end saying woohoo, and
I wish I could see the comments. I hope I can see them.
And they'll come on, they'll be on the live chat as well. Shannon says love it, and enjoyed all those things that you're doing too.
Thank you, everybody.
And that is the end of our nerdy neuro keeping your key. So worrying about being part of that as well. So that is the end of our show, and I will see you later, Erica, and see everyone later. Bye.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.